The elevator doors opened, and Maya Brooks stepped into the gleaming boardroom. A sea of white faces turned to stare, their eyes sharp with judgment. With steady confidence, Maya reached out to shake the CEO's hand. He looked down, sneered loudly, and said, "I don't shake hands with staff." The room fell deadly silent, every heartbeat echoing with tension. "Hi, my name is Malik. If you believe stories like this need to be heard, please hit like and subscribe right now. Your support helps us shine a light on real injustice." The tall glass doors of the skyscraper opened smoothly as Maya Brooks stepped into the sleek, polished boardroom. Inside, a circle of white men in tailored suits waited. Their eyes flickered over her with a mix of curiosity and judgment. At the head of the table stood Arthur West, the arrogant CEO known for his ruthless business moves and cold demeanor. He watched Maya approach with a smirk playing on his lips. Maya moved with calm confidence, her posture straight, every step measured. The room's chatter died instantly as she reached the long table. She extended her hand politely toward Arthur West, expecting the usual professional courtesy. Instead, Arthur's eyes darted down to her hand, then back up with a cruel sneer. "I don't shake hands with staff," he said loudly, ensuring everyone heard. A heavy silence fell across the room. The executives shifted uncomfortably, some smirking, others avoiding eye contact. The tension was thick, almost suffocating. Maya's hand remained extended for a moment before she slowly withdrew it without a hint of anger. Her face was composed, but her eyes burned with quiet determination. No one in that room could ignore what had just happened. The insult was clear, a reminder of her place, or at least where Arthur wanted to keep her. But Maya was not here to be diminished or dismissed. Her presence was a challenge to the old power structures, a quiet rebellion wrapped in dignity and grace. The weight of the moment pressed down on the room. Arthur's words echoed loudly, revealing the deep-rooted arrogance and racism festering beneath the polished surface of corporate success. Maya's calm refusal to react outwardly only made the insult sharper, cutting through the pretense. She took a steady breath and fixed Arthur with a gaze that spoke louder than words. The executives around the table exchanged uneasy glances, realizing that this wasn't just a simple dismissal. This was a clash of worlds, one rooted in outdated prejudice, the other in undeniable strength and power. As Maya settled into her seat, the room remained charged with a silent electricity. Every person there knew that the game had changed. This was not the moment for empty gestures or hollow politeness. The boardroom, once a symbol of untouchable authority, had become the stage for a reckoning. The air was thick with anticipation. The silence stretched, every heartbeat amplified. Maya's presence was a force that could not be ignored or belittled. The first move had been made, and the consequences would ripple far beyond these walls. In that instant, the true battle lines were drawn, not just over a handshake, but over respect, power, and justice. Maya Brooks was here to claim her place, and no sneer or insult could stop her. The boardroom was no longer just a room. It was the arena for change. Maya Brooks had faced subtle but relentless prejudice throughout her life, yet nothing had prepared her for the atmosphere she encountered the moment she stepped into the towering headquarters of West Global Enterprises. From the polished marble floors of the lobby to the cold eyes of the reception staff, the signs of exclusion were impossible to miss. The receptionist glanced up briefly when Maya approached, her smile forced and eyes narrowing ever so slightly, silently questioning if Maya belonged there. As Maya spoke calmly, stating her appointment with the CEO, the woman's tone shifted to one of thinly veiled skepticism. "You're here for the assistant position, right?" she asked, as if it were inconceivable that Maya would have a meeting with someone so powerful. Maya responded evenly, affirming her meeting, but the chill in the receptionist's demeanor lingered, unmistakable proof of the company's entrenched biases. The elevator ride-up was silent, the glass walls offering a clear view of the bustling city below. Maya used this moment to gather her thoughts. She was no stranger to these environments. Places where success often came wrapped in layers of exclusion, where smiles hid judgment and doors often closed quietly. But today, she was prepared to confront more than just invisible barriers. Once inside the building, the subtle tension persisted. Staff members passed her with minimal acknowledgement, their eyes drifting away quickly, betraying discomfort or disdain. Whispers floated in the air just beyond hearing range, voices speculating about her presence, her intentions, her worth. Maya felt the weight of every glance and sideways comment but refused to let it break her focus. She found herself seated in a small waiting area, noticeably separate from the plush VIP lounges reserved for the company's elite. The starkness of the chair beneath her was a silent reminder of her perceived place in this world, a stark contrast to the power she wielded in reality. Yet Maya's calm exterior never faltered. Every detail, every interaction was noted, each piece a puzzle revealing the true nature of the company she was about to scrutinize. Maya's mind drifted back to the moments before she arrived, the countless hours of preparation, the strategic conversations with her team, the unwavering belief in the mission she carried. This meeting was more than a business transaction. It was a confrontation with systemic prejudice, a chance to hold the powerful accountable. Across the hall, behind closed doors, the executives continued their discussions, unaware of the quiet storm waiting just outside. Maya's presence was a challenge to their complacency, a reminder that power dynamics were shifting. The seemingly small acts of disrespect she had endured so far were symptoms of a larger disease infecting the organization, a culture resistant to change, blinded by privilege. As time passed, the receptionist's initial disdain gave way to begrudging acknowledgement. Maya's unwavering poise made it clear she was no ordinary visitor. Eventually, a sharp knock signaled the end of the wait. A senior assistant appeared, offering a curt invitation. "Mr. West is ready to see you now." Maya rose smoothly, steady, and prepared. Walking down the corridor lined with expensive artwork, she carried not just a portfolio, but the hopes of many who had been sidelined and underestimated. This was the moment where appearances would be challenged, and the true test of power would begin. The boardroom was a cold, imposing space dominated by a long polished table surrounded by leather chairs. The walls bore sleek modern art, and floor-to-ceiling windows offered a panoramic view of the city skyline, but none of it softened the harsh atmosphere inside. Maya Brooks entered the room, her steps measured but unwavering, as all eyes turned toward her. The tension was palpable, thick enough to be felt in every breath. At the head of the table sat Arthur West, CEO of West Global Enterprises, a man whose reputation for ruthless business tactics was matched only by his arrogance. His gaze swept over Maya with a mix of amusement and disdain, as if daring her to challenge his authority. Without standing, he barely acknowledged her presence, his eyes glued to the documents in front of him. "Ah, Maya," Arthur said finally, his voice dripping with condescension. "I hope you're prepared for this meeting, though I must admit I'm curious how you managed to get here." He glanced sideways at his board members, who smirked and exchanged knowing looks. "We've had our fair share of diversity hires, but you're a new one." Maya met his gaze without flinching. "I'm here to discuss the $4 billion investment from Johnson Capital Partners," she replied evenly, her voice steady despite the hostility thick in the room. "And to ensure the company meets the standards required for that commitment." Laughter erupted from one of the senior executives, a harsh, dismissive sound. "Standards? You sound like you think this is a charity," he sneered. Arthur smiled thinly, leaning back in his chair. "Exactly. It's a business. And frankly, people like you wouldn't understand the complexities involved." Maya felt the sting of those words, not just for herself but for the countless others who had faced such blatant dismissal. She kept her expression calm, choosing her next words carefully. Understanding isn't limited by appearance or background, Mr. West. It's about preparation, insight, and accountability. Qualities that must be shared by everyone at this table. Arthur's smirk faltered for a moment before he recovered, though the room's atmosphere shifted noticeably. The laughter died down, replaced by murmurs and exchanged glances. As the meeting progressed, Arthur's tone grew increasingly patronizing. He brushed off Maya's pointed questions about company policies and financial details with vague answers and thinly veiled sarcasm. "Let's not bog ourselves down in technicalities," he said dismissively. "I assure you we're running a tight ship here." Maya's patience wore thin, but she held firm. Every question she posed was deliberate, designed to expose gaps and inconsistencies in the company's narrative. Her calm persistence unsettled the board members, who had grown accustomed to unquestioned authority. At one point, Arthur cracked a joke about diversity hires being checkmarks on a list, causing a few executives to chuckle. The room's hostility was now undeniable. Maya's heart pounded, but she refused to give in to anger or intimidation. Instead, she leaned forward, her voice steady but resolute. If this company truly values integrity and excellence, it must do more than just check boxes. It must demonstrate commitment through transparent policies, equal opportunities, and respect for every employee, she said. Anything less puts that $4 billion investment at risk. The room fell into an uneasy silence. Arthur's expression hardened, and the executives looked away, uncomfortable with the weight of her words. Maya knew this was only the beginning of a much larger battle, but in that moment, the lines were drawn clearly. Her presence was no longer a challenge but a warning, a declaration that change was not optional. The meeting continued, but Maya's quiet strength had shifted the energy. The boardroom was no longer just a place of power for Arthur West and his allies. It was now a battleground where old prejudices faced an unyielding force demanding justice and accountability. If you're still watching, drop a comment below. What would you do in this situation? And don't forget to subscribe for more real stories that matter. Maya sat back calmly, her eyes scanning the room as the weight of her revelation settled over the executives. "I'm not just here as an observer," she said quietly, yet every word resonated with authority. "I represent the $4 billion investment that Johnson Capital Partners has committed, money that can shape the future of this company." A collective intake of breath rippled through the room. Arthur West's smug expression flickered, replaced briefly by shock and disbelief. The executives shifted uncomfortably, some exchanging wary glances, while others tried to maintain their facade of confidence. Maya leaned forward, setting her portfolio on the polished table. "I've reviewed your quarterly reports, your hiring practices, and your diversity initiatives. There are glaring gaps, areas where promises have been made but not kept." Her voice was steady but firm, carrying the weight of evidence and expectation. "This investment depends on meaningful change, and I intend to ensure those commitments are honored." Arthur's jaw tightened. "You're overstepping," he said sharply. "This is a business negotiation, not a social crusade. You forget your place." "On the contrary," Maya replied, meeting his gaze directly. "This is precisely about place, ensuring that every employee, regardless of race or background, has a fair and respected position. Without that, your business is built on shaky ground." She began to question the executives, pointing out inconsistencies and demanding clarifications. Each answer was met with guarded responses or vague deflections. But Maya's relentless scrutiny began to unsettle the room. The facade of control the executives clung to started to crack. The tension in the room grew thicker with every passing minute. Arthur, sensing his authority slipping, attempted to regain control with a sarcastic remark about diversity hires being a necessary evil. The comment was met with stifled laughter from some, but it only served to underscore the company's underlying issues. Maya's expression hardened. "Diversity isn't a checkbox," It's the foundation of innovation and growth. Ignoring it risks everything you've built. She signaled to her assistant, who discreetly passed her a device. With a few taps, Maya sent a silent message to her team. Moments later, a wave of activity ignited outside the room. Financial analysts began reacting to information they had just received, setting off subtle sell orders. Arthur's eyes narrowed. "What is that?" he demanded, alarm creeping into his voice. Maya's calm gaze didn't waver. "The market is beginning to respond to what it's learned here today. This company's future hinges not just on profits, but on accountability and respect." The CEO slammed his fist on the table, frustration boiling over. "You're playing a dangerous game." "Maybe," Maya said quietly, "but it's the only game worth playing." The executives around the table exchanged uneasy looks, the reality of the situation sinking in. Maya's presence, her authority, and the power she wielded through that $4 billion investment had irrevocably changed the boardroom dynamics. The meeting continued, but the narrative had shifted. Maya was no longer just a visitor. She was a force demanding transparency, respect, and genuine change. The old guard's dominance was challenged, and the consequences would soon reverberate far beyond the walls of that glass skyscraper. In that charged atmosphere, Maya knew the real battle had only just begun. But with every pointed question and every silent message sent, she was shaping a new future, one where power and prejudice could no longer coexist unchecked. As Maya's message rippled through the financial world, chaos erupted quietly but swiftly. Analysts watching West Global Enterprises began selling shares in rapid succession, triggering a downward spiral that echoed in trading rooms from New York to London and Toronto. The subtle sell orders grew into a full-blown market reaction, a tangible consequence of the revelations unveiled in that tense boardroom. Inside the company, murmurs of panic spread among the executives. Phones buzzed relentlessly with urgent calls from investors demanding explanations. The atmosphere that had once been thick with arrogance shifted suddenly to desperation. Arthur West's usual composure faltered as he stared at the plummeting stock ticker on his phone, disbelief clouding his features. "Tell me this isn't happening?" Arthur muttered under his breath, the weight of his actions crashing down on him. The room was a battlefield of whispered accusations and fearful glances, the executives scrambling to contain the damage that was now beyond their control. Maya sat quietly, observing the unraveling drama with unwavering calm. Every detail of the board's faltering defense, every rising panic in Arthur's voice, was a confirmation of the power shift underway. The silent storm she had unleashed was turning corporate arrogance into vulnerability. As the news spread, social media exploded. Videos of Arthur West's earlier insult toward Maya circulated widely, igniting public outrage. Hashtags demanding accountability trended across platforms, drawing attention to West Global Enterprises' toxic culture. Former employees began sharing stories of discrimination and dismissal, their voices amplified in a chorus of protest. The media seized the moment, digging into the company's history and exposing years of unchecked prejudice and mismanagement. News outlets questioned the leadership's ability to reform, forcing the board into a defensive stance that only heightened scrutiny. Under mounting pressure, the board convened emergency meetings to discuss the crisis. Shareholders voiced their anger, demanding immediate action and transparency. The company's reputation, once built on power and prestige, now teetered on the brink of collapse. Faced with the growing backlash, Arthur found himself isolated. His attempts to downplay the incident were met with skepticism and condemnation. The consequences of his arrogance were becoming clear, not only financial losses but a complete erosion of trust. The board's discussions culminated in a decisive move. Arthur West was suspended as CEO, pending a full investigation into the company's culture and practices. The announcement sent shockwaves through the industry, signaling a dramatic shift in accountability. Maya's role in exposing the truth was undeniable. Her strategic actions had not only revealed deep-seated issues, but had also sparked a movement toward reform. The company began appointing new leadership committed to transparency, diversity, and equity, determined to rebuild trust and reshape its future. The ripple effects extended beyond West Global Enterprises. Other corporations faced increased scrutiny, and investors started demanding greater responsibility from those they supported. Maya's stand became a powerful symbol of change, inspiring others to challenge systemic injustice. While the battle was far from over, this moment marked a turning point. A victory not just for Maya but for everyone fighting against prejudice and inequality in the corporate world. Her courage and conviction proved that even the most entrenched power structures could be held accountable. As the dust settled, Maya remained focused on the work ahead. The path to true transformation was long, but the message was clear. Respect, fairness, and justice were non-negotiable. The era of silent tolerance had ended, and a new chapter of accountability was beginning. The fallout from Arthur West's suspension sent ripples throughout West Global Enterprises. The boardroom that once echoed with arrogance now buzzed with urgency and uncertainty. Shareholders demanded swift action, employees whispered anxiously in the hallways, and the media's relentless spotlight refused to dim. In the midst of the chaos, a new leader emerged, Patricia Reynolds, the company's chief operating officer. Known for her steady hand and unwavering commitment to ethical leadership, Patricia stepped into the CEO role with clear intent. Her first message was firm. The toxic culture that had festered under Arthur's watch would no longer be tolerated. Patricia immediately convened a series of town hall meetings, inviting employees from every level to share their experiences and concerns openly. These forums became a vital space for healing and accountability. Stories of discrimination, microaggressions, and silenced voices poured in, revealing the depth of the company's problems. Recognizing that words alone were insufficient, Patricia worked with Maya Brooks and Johnson Capital Partners to implement concrete reforms. Transparent salary disclosures were mandated, dismantling the unequal pay structures that had disproportionately affected women and minorities. Hiring practices were overhauled to prioritize diversity and inclusion, overseen by an independent committee with real authority. The company also committed to regular third-party audits to monitor progress, ensuring that promises translated into measurable change. These steps sent a clear message. West Global Enterprises was no longer a place where prejudice could hide behind profit. The transformation was neither easy nor quick. Resistance came from some corners, especially among long-standing executives wary of change. But Patricia's leadership remained resolute. She made it clear that failure to embrace the new values would result in removal, no matter one's tenure or influence. Over the following months, signs of progress emerged. Employee satisfaction surveys showed increased confidence and engagement, and new hires reflected a broader range of backgrounds and perspectives. Investor confidence slowly returned, buoyed by transparent reporting and a growing culture of accountability. Meanwhile, Maya continued to monitor the company's journey closely. Her role extended beyond investor. She became an active advocate for sustained reform, pushing for policies that went deeper than surface-level fixes. Maya understood that true change required vigilance, persistence, and a willingness to confront uncomfortable truths. The story of West Global Enterprises became a case study in corporate redemption, a testament to the power of confronting racism head-on and demanding justice. News outlets praised the company's turnaround, highlighting the leadership of Patricia and the pivotal role Maya played in forcing accountability. For many within the company and beyond, the episode sparked hope. It was proof that entrenched systems could be challenged and changed when courageous individuals refused to accept injustice silently. The victory was not just financial but moral, a restoration of dignity and respect. As the company rebuilt, Arthur West faded into the background, a cautionary figure whose downfall underscored the consequences of arrogance and discrimination. Meanwhile, the new leadership charted a future grounded in fairness, transparency, and shared success. Maya's fight had ignited a movement, one that inspired others to stand up against inequality in boardrooms, workplaces, and communities across the country. Her story resonated as a beacon for those who had long felt voiceless, proving that real power lies not in status or money, but in courage and conviction. The journey ahead remained challenging, but the foundation was set. West Global Enterprises was no longer just a company. It was a symbol of change, a living example that justice and equity could prevail even in the highest echelons of power. Maya Brooks walked out of the towering skyscraper with a quiet confidence that belied the storm she had just weathered inside. The city buzzed around her. Cars honked, people hurried past, and the skyline gleamed under the afternoon sun. But Maya's thoughts were focused on something deeper. This moment was more than a personal victory. It was a step towards something greater. As she made her way to the subway, her phone buzzed with messages. Former employees of West Global Enterprises sent notes of thanks and hope. Many shared stories of their own struggles, tales of being overlooked, dismissed, or underestimated because of their race or background. Maya read each message carefully, feeling the weight and responsibility that came with her position. The media frenzy continued to swirl around the company's transformation. Headlines praised the courage it took to stand up to a billionaire CEO and expose years of hidden prejudice. Maya's name became synonymous with change, a symbol of resilience and power for countless individuals fighting similar battles across the country. Back at the office, Maya sat down with her team to plan the next steps. They knew the work was far from over. Systemic change required constant vigilance and unwavering commitment. Policies had to be implemented, culture had to shift, and old attitudes had to be challenged at every turn. She recalled a letter she had received from a young black woman who worked at a rival firm. The letter expressed gratitude and inspiration, saying Maya's stand gave her the courage to speak up about her own experiences. It was a reminder that one person's courage could ripple out, touching lives far beyond their immediate circle. Maya's journey became a catalyst for a broader movement. Other corporations began reevaluating their own cultures and leadership practices. Investors grew more conscious of the ethical standards they demanded. Communities rallied to support initiatives aimed at equity and inclusion. While the battle against racism and inequality was ongoing, Maya's story offered a beacon of hope. It demonstrated that entrenched systems could be challenged and changed when individuals refused to remain silent. Her actions proved that dignity, respect, and justice were not mere ideals but achievable realities. As Maya looked toward the future, she envisioned a world where boardrooms reflected the diversity of the communities they served, where opportunities were equitable, and where no one's worth was diminished by the color of their skin. She knew the path would be difficult, but her resolve was unshakable. The power dynamics had shifted, and Maya Brooks stood at the forefront of that change. Her fight was not just her own. It was a collective struggle for justice that resonated across industries and generations. In the end, the handshake that was refused became a symbol, a moment that sparked transformation and reminded the world that true power belongs to those who stand firm in the face of injustice. Maya's story was a testament to the strength of resilience and the impact one person can have when they refuse to accept anything less than equality. The era of silent tolerance was over, and a new chapter of accountability and hope had begun. If you believe in second chances and breaking barriers, share this story. To viewers in the USA, UK, and Canada, your voice matters. Together, we can change the world.